Welcome. Today I would like to talk about life expectancy. Why is life expectancy an interesting concept? If you look at life expectancy over time, it will give you a sense of changes in policy, whether wars have impacted on the country. So it's really helpful to understand a little bit what happened in the country that has resulted in people living longer. For this lecture, I use data from France, and the data are sourced from Our World in Data, who used some other primary sources to get these life expectancy data. So I have here a graph, which is life expectancy at birth from 1816 until 2022. And on the y-axis, it's years, so 20, 40, 60, 80, 100. What is life expectancy? Life expectancy is actually, so when you're born in 1816, how old will you on average be before you die? And here it's 40.1 years. How do you calculate that? It's quite a complex calculation, but you look at what percentage of an age group, so from 0 to 1 is dying, how many people are dying from 10 to 11, and you add all those chances up to get life expectancy. So, for example, if everyone is living until they're 80, and then all die, so no one dies before or after, then the average life expectancy is 80. But what happens if half the people die at birth and half the people die at 80? Then the average life expectancy is 40, because you take the average of those two age categories. But it's a bit more complex, so you have for each year a life expectancy. So this is life expectancy at birth. So we start in 1816, where we had a life expectancy of 40 years. And that kind of stayed constant until around 1870s. You see a little bit fluctuating up and down. That is really reflective of some famines that we had that were in France because of lost crops. There were also some cholera and pests running around. There were also some small conflicts or smallish conflicts, which resulted that there was quite a bit of variation in life expectancy. And especially when it's lower, it meant there was a famine, and so people died because they didn't have enough food. In 1871, there is a huge dip. What could explain that dip? It is helpful to know a little bit about French history. In 1871, there was a war, the Franco-Prussian War. This was the time that Germany became Germany. Before that, it was a lot of different states. And the French fought against the Prussians in the eastern part of France, and quite a few soldiers died there. The French lost the war, and it was quite bloody at the time. It was only a short war, only lasting less than a year. So you see a small dip. And then thereafter, we're getting kind of at the same level. What we then see is kind of an increase over time in life expectancy from 44 in 1874 to approximately 65 just after the Second World War. So there is an increase in life expectancy. How could that come? If you know a little bit about changes in France, you might know that after 1870s, the public health initiatives came into place. So there were efforts to get garbage collection, getting cleaner water, so both drinking water and sewage. Also, there were efforts to reduce malnutrition. So there were programs to get meal programs for children going to school. In addition, also the occupational health and safety programs were put in place so that it became safer to at the work floor. A cleaner air with cooking, etc. So these were a lot of public health initiatives which really increased the life expectancy approximately 20 years. So from 44 years to 65, which is a huge improvement. We see, however, two big dips. These are the First World War, Second World War. Why were these big drop in the First World War? It was in France. There was a lot of fighting. There was the battles were actually happening in northern France, and quite a few young men died in the trenches. Which had a huge impact on the life expectancy, because these were young, healthy men who died, who otherwise could have lived up to the age of 50 or older. In the Second World War, the dip wasn't as deep, and that's mainly because in the Second World War, whilst France was fighting against Germany, the actual battles were quite contained, and most of the time they were occupied by the Germans. There was some shortage of food because food was taken to Germany, but there weren't as many people who died, especially young males in the battlefield. After 1948, you can see the line is going a little bit steeper than before, and then plateauing. This is what we call modern medicine, most likely. After the Second World War in France, they got the social security system, which meant more modern healthcare, also pension schemes. There were no wars, so within on French territory. So people didn't die in wars because the wars really had an impact on life expectancy. So no wars. Economic growth. So France became wealthier. That resulted in less poverty. So there was no malnutrition, better healthcare, which really has increased the life expectancy. And then it plateaued in the last little bit. So there is a really kind of three trends in life expectancy in France. Stable until roughly 1870s, where there was no public health and there were quite a few epidemics, wars. Then the increase, which is mainly explained through public health initiatives, but also some prosperity, less malnutrition. And then modern medicine, with then the three dips for war. This slide provides almost a similar story, but then with a slight additional interesting question. This graph we have seen on the previous slide, which is the life expectancy at birth. This blue line is the life expectancy at the age of 10. What does that mean? This is provided that you're 10 years old, so you've survived your first 10 years, you haven't died, then your life expectancy is 57.2 versus 40.1. So there's a huge difference between life expectancy. So this is conditional. You live at the age of 10, then you can live on average until you're 57 years old. Whilst at birth it's 40 years. This is all child mortality. So this area is the difference between what happened between young children and people above the age of 10. So what you can see, as I explained, a lot of the famine and the just the cholera and all these other diseases and wars really affected babies because there's a huge difference and there was no change. Then after 1870, when the public health initiatives came, what you can see here is the difference, approximately, what is it, 17 years. But if you then go just before the Second World War, here is the difference, approximately 5 years. And also after the Second World War, only 5 years. So we went from 17 years difference to 5 years difference. What does that mean? Is that the life expectancy at birth really increased, whilst when you were 10, it increased as well, but not to the same amount. So a lot of the public health activities, like the clean water, getting proper food, sewage, garbage collection, really has improved child health and the chances that children live beyond their children's time. So this is a huge improvement. So then after the Second World War, there is a small difference, but it's from, say, 1970 or so, it's almost no improvement. Modern medicine has not really made a difference for children under the age of 10 in their life expectancy. And currently you can see it's not that large a difference. It's 4/10 of a year. So the life expectancy after the Second World War is not due to an increased survival of children under the age of 10. There's other reasons why that curve has gone up. Public health is good, has had a real impact on children. Another small of notice is, if you look in the wars, the difference here versus there is actually, this is a large difference than here. So it wasn't the children really dying in the First World War and the Second World War. So it was not necessarily a famine or so. Something else ensured that this drop was there. If we now go to a slightly higher age group, the blue line is now the life expectancy at the age of 10, and the green line, the life expectancy at the age of 45. We're looking here, so it's flat, and then going up, and then going further up. Now we're looking at with the dips for the 3 major wars that France went through in the 19th and 20th century. But if we look at the people 45 and above, what do we see? It's almost flat. So any of the public health initiatives, also any of these famines and epidemics and wars did not impact life expectancy. The wars had no impact. People, if you were 45, you didn't die at the war. And then it increases with modern medicine here. So until 1948, there wasn't that much improvement in life expectancy, provided you turned 45. So we have these big dips. So people between 10 and 45 died, really reduced the life expectancy. People above 45. Why is that? These are the soldiers, the males at the battlefields who actually died. Now, thinking in this current day and age with war, who is making decisions of going to war? Generally, people over the age of 45. But they are not dying in the battlefields. It's the young people dying in the battlefields. So wars really has an impact on young, especially young males who are healthy otherwise, and it could have really improved life expectancy. And there were a lot of males dying in the First World War, as well as Second World War, but not people above age 45. So once you got above 45, even in 1816, you had a pretty good life expectancy. So these were the healthy 45-year-olds. And up to wasn't that much improvement. And we see the main improvement with modern medicine since 1945. We now go to a higher age group. So we now have the 45 and the 80-year-olds. So as I said, the 45-year-olds, very flat, and then it goes up. What do you see with the 80-years-olds? So provided you lived until you were 18 in 1860, so there were some really old people, you had another 5 years that you lived on average. Here, you lived 6 years. In 1918, you lived 5 years. In 2022, approximately 10 years. So no improvement whatsoever up until there. And there is a tiny improvement after the Second World War. So this is, a lot of money has gone into caring of people over 80. And it has given a very small improvement in life expectancy. However, you see that here is a huge difference. So there were a lot of people between 45 and 80 dying. And that only started decreasing after the Second World War. This is modern medicine. So modern medicine really has improved the health of people over 45. And one of the explanations is that a lot of people died of a heart attack. They're not dying anymore because we have now modern medicine like antihypertensives and just better cardiac care. So people don't die of a heart attack, and therefore they can live much longer. So it is, but for both categories, we sometimes think these really old people would also be very affected by if we had a famine or there was an epidemic. It doesn't show in the data. This was pretty stable. So if you survived up to the age of 80, you were very healthy and you didn't die off when there was cholera or anything else running around. To end my story, I have posed a couple of questions that I hope what you can do with life expectancy. So when did life expectancy increase in France? Really after 1870s, you saw the increase, and that sped up a little bit faster after the Second World War. What saved young children? It's not modern medicine. The children already had these huge improvements from 1870s, and that's public health initiatives such as clean water, sewage, garbage collection, good food, so good nutrition, milk programs. Vaccines only came after most children didn't die anymore. Is modern medicine the reason for increased life expectancy for all ages? I would say no, but it definitely has improved the life expectancy of people over the age of 45, especially between the age of 45 and 80. That's where the main improvement has been. And does war affect life expectancy for all ages? The answer is, again, no. Mainly affects people under the age of 45, soldiers in the trenches, and also a little bit the younger kids because of the poverty, etc. I would like to leave it here.